Welcome on, man.
It's been a pleasure. Good to see you, boys. Lovely to meet you today, man, as well. It's awesome. Yeah.
Lovely to have you in the space. Like,
It is. You guys are so blessed. Like, this is such an incredible studio, and like what you have out there and what you have inside here, and the vision you guys are preparing for this space is just next level. Like, I'm totally blessed to be here. I'm honored, honestly.
I appreciate it.
Thanks for
Yeah,
coming
no,
on,
you're
man.
so welcome.
Just too, while I got you, just make sure that mic's just a little bit closer. Because we want to hear your amazing voice. You've got an incredible voice.
Talk about voice lessons in a second, but
Really? You got a voice acting background?
No, not at all. So I just came back from a working trip in Europe to see whether or not we could run our marketing agency from France. Talk about that later, but it was really interesting. So before I got into marketing, I was an engineer, and prior to that, I was a jazz guitarist. And I really love jazz guitar. Like, I'm totally into it. Like, I know like all the scales, I know all the licks. I've got multiple jazz guitars at home. Like, I've collected them over the years. And whenever I go to France, it's like the spiritual home of jazz guitar. So if you know anything about the history of jazz, there's this guy called Django Reinhardt, who was a gypsy jazz musician in the 1930s and 1940s, who invented what we know as single note playing guitar, which is also known as a guitar solo. So he was the first guy that took guitar from strumming, to single notes. And he was literally the pioneer of the electric guitar. Now, what's fascinating is that I was blessed to be over in Paris, talk to a lot of musicians, do a lot of work, like, whip up, do meetings in the morning at like 6 a.m. and, go through, do a whole heap of deep work up until 9 a.m., whether it be writing copy, developing strategy, working with clients one-on-one, you name it. We were doing it, right? And it was in a different time zone with respect to Australia. But you wouldn't believe it. I got to go to a lot of gigs over there, and there's so many. You can go to a great jazz gig every night. And we ended up going to a concert at the Theatre du Châtelet, which is one of the bigger concert venues in Paris, and we saw one of my favorite artists. I'm not going to name who he was, but he was awful. And my wife in the intermission goes to me, "You know what, Dean? He's a great guitarist. He's relatively good looking, but I know you've got a better voice, so you should take him." And I thought, you know what? I've always dreamt of being like a French pop star. Like, there's been this weird dream to be that. I can't speak the language, but we'll see how it goes. Anyway, I was reading The Secret and Napoleon Hill at the time. I get back home, I recover and I relax, and lo and behold, I have an SEO lead from Australia's leading vocal coach, who's been the vocal coach to guys like Ash Grunwald, Regurgitator, All Day, pretty much everyone who's been anyone. He ended up in my inbox. It's a guy called Peter, and he runs a singing academy called Vox Singing Academy, and it's based out of Melbourne. No joke, he's now a client. And as part of the deal, I'm getting free vocal classes. So shout out to Peter.
There you go.
It's amazing. So who knows? Maybe my long-term trajectory isn't being a direct response advertising madman that runs a performance marketing agency. Maybe I'm a French pop star, but you'll have to tune in to find out. There you go.
Episode 100.
How did we get from engineer to ads? That's what I want to know.
Yeah.
100%.
Wow.
Like, what an interesting skill set to have going into ads, because I feel like a lot of people get into the world of ads either wanting to help people, expand their reach and that sort of stuff. But to come into it with an engineer's background is an incredible skill set.
Ben, Job, funny story. My dog got me into it.
What?
How? So it was about 2014, right? And Instagram was starting to take off. I think it was 2013, 2014, and people were taking, artistic photos of like staircases and buildings, and you'd have like a one line and like a 40,000 hashtags and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So I thought, you know what? I'm going to create an Instagram account for my dog, and my family dog. It was a Hungarian Vizsla named Sassy, and with little to no effort, we managed to get our dog from, say, 20 followers all the way up to about 15,000 followers. It got to the point where Vegemite was tapping us on the shoulder to do brand deals.
Wow.
We had Rod and Gun. We were considering getting Sassy in the ads for Rod and Gun. But none of this came through because I didn't have the business acumen on how to manage it, facilitate those conversations or whatever. But that led me down the path of launching a luxury dog brand called Owen and Edwin, which failed. And the reason why my e-commerce business failed, number one, I was undercapitalized. Number two was the fact that I didn't know how to run ads. I didn't know how to run traffic. I didn't know anything about marketing. I was in this delusional universe, like any good founder who is like hell-bent on their dream, but not really fully in touch with reality, that, oh, if you build the product, they will come, which is a lie and a scam. They will only come if you understand what they want. And I think we built products, well, I know with certainty, that didn't achieve product market fit, but now we see the market changing where we could reintroduce that business and maybe have more success. But that's where I ended up in ads. That's how I ended up in marketing. And it was through that failed business, I ended up in a marketing agency, mastering performance marketing, direct response copywriting, conversions, tracking, reporting, attribution, and strategy, which then when I was made redundant from that strategy as it got swallowed up as part of a bigger marketing agency, I had to go out on my own and freelance. And, from what we've been doing since, I think it was 2018 when I had my first true year as a freelancer, it's been really exciting. And that's the transition, Ben, if that helps.
That definitely helps.
Yeah.
So responsible by a dog.
Thanks. Thank you, Sassy the Visualer. Yeah.
Sassy.
What's up?
I think heaps of people can relate to that too, because we've talked in previous episodes about mainly who we're wanting to reach with this podcast, which is a lot of other creatives that love what they do, and for some of them, the business world will be great because they'll fall in love with business as well, and for a large percentage of people as well, they just want to do more of what they love doing. And frankly, running the business, marketing themselves, selling themselves isn't something that they're good at. And some people may never want to do that down the track. And we've talked a lot about people that want to essentially do what they love and can still have a uncapped income, if you will, underneath other people. But that's really cool that you sort of went through that whole journey.
Yeah.
Learnt marketing out of necessity.
Yeah, like most good things, right?
I'm curious, did you have a bad experience with, say, like another performance marketing agency, or was it purely like you tried to do it on your own and just like lots of trial and error and you're like, no, I need to figure this out?
So just to be 100% abundantly clear, are you talking whilst I was working with my e-commerce store? Are you talking? Yeah. So even worse, I tried to Superman it. Yeah. Which is the worst thing you can do. When you're undercapitalized, you Superman it, you invest in things that you think are going to work out, like wildly expensive business coaching, and you get sucked into spending $5 for a whole bunch of backlinks on the internet, and then your domain gets shadow banned, so you can't even find your e-commerce store for the keywords you used to rank for. Literally, dude, I went and tried to Superman it. I didn't even invest in a performance marketing agency, and to my own detriment, I went broke. Like, I lost it all by 26 years of age, and I literally... Now, was it 26? Yeah, it was. When I was 26, I had to come back from the Sunshine Coast in my old Volkswagen Golf GT with my tail between my legs. It was rough, man. No money. Had to borrow money from my parents for petrol and accommodation on the way down. I got pulled over by a cop on the way home. It was basically on the New South Wales-Victoria border. And he goes, son, your tyres are bald. What are you going to do? That's like a $1,285 fine. And I was like, officer, I'm coming home after a failed business, and, we're going to go home. I'm not going to be driving this car. I just need this done. Can we get this sorted? And, that was a low point. And, I think that it was through that experience of, having those failures with your e-commerce business that you become humble And I think it not only do you learn those skills through necessity, I think it's almost like the universe conspires for you, and it gave me an opportunity to work inside a performance marketing agency. And I think that's and that's the reality with entrepreneurship. It's not all butterflies and rainbows, as Rocky Balboa would say.
I think you've got to have the skeletons. Like everyone's got skeletons in their closet.
100%.
I know, sure as shit I do. I have a lot of failed businesses, but the stuff I've learned and the heartache that I've been through, I tell everyone, I wouldn't change it. Yeah. I wouldn't rewrite the process. I wouldn't do it a different way. I am so thankful I've been through it because it's made me into who I am today. Yeah. And I wouldn't be able to operate without
do you have a moment like that? Or do you have a moment that you can... Because I've definitely got one that I can remember. I got super similar. I was driving and I had at the time a ton of money in overdue invoices, people not paying and stuff, and someone was having me come up to Melbourne to film for them, and I remember just being super overrun with all these other jobs in my mind at the time, and trying to rush between two different things. Yep. I hit the back of a van, and it was just bumper to bumper traffic, and I honestly would have had $40 in my bank account, something like that, and no idea whether or not I'm getting paid for all this other stuff, and also knowing that I've got a ton of expenses coming up, and I was so I remember I hit this car, and I was yelling, so many swear words, because I was just thinking, I wasn't even worried about my car because I didn't hit it hard. I just hit it enough. But I'm I cannot afford fucking up someone else's car. Yeah. And I get out of this car and it's heaps of cars beeping behind us because it's back to back. And I get out and I see, and it's one of those, a van with one of those silver metal things at the back. So really, I just
a bull bar,
not a bull bar, okay. But it was a step into the thing. Yeah. So all it did was it kind of dinted my number plate, and we got out, and he was just I was oh mate, I am so sorry. I'm so sorry. I was just I just want this to go well, and he was just I think I'm fine, mate. It looks like your number plates, the ones whatever. Do you need to? What do we need to do? Do you want to take info or whatever? Or I'm good, to be honest. And I was nah, I'm good. I don't, that's my fault. I just got in my car. I remember thinking I just felt I was that close to just breaking. That's how close. Wow. Do you know what I mean? Just that close to being fucked. Yeah.
Yep.
Do you have a moment like that?
I got plenty.
Yeah, give us one.
I got plenty. There's been times where I've got a bit of a heavy foot, I guess you could say. Heavy foot. It's ridiculous. I had a SS Commodore V8. And
manual, auto?
Manual. Oh, yeah.
The glory days. For everyone who watches this podcast in 150 years' time, they don't know what they're missing out on. Naturally aspirated V8 engine, manual, gearbox.
Oh. LS1.
Oh, no. An LS1 is
so much fun. That's what it stands for. It rhymes, sort of. But it absolutely cost me way too much money and points. Still to this day, I have those points. And
how many did you lose?
Too many.
Are we talking the full 12? Did you lose the license completely?
I lost 9 points within a span of a week.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, let's say I had been driving that car and I hadn't got any points. Let's say I shouldn't have been driving that car. But anyway, I was driving that car when I probably shouldn't have been. Never got any fines. The second I was allowed to be driving that car, I then got all my points. Just magically hit me within the span of that week. 9 points, $3,500 in fines. And it was a similar situation. Plenty of money out, lots of expenses on the way in. And it's just at that breaking point where I was one more thing will make me sink.
Yeah.
And it was just a matter of sitting in the shit for a while and being like, yes, I have no idea how I'm going to get through this, but just like day by day, you end up getting through it. But
You do.
it was just one of those situations where it's just like far out.
You get like, just if I can, like one hack that I've used for myself, and I'm not sure if it's a truism or I'm gaslighting myself, so just bear with me here. But for some reason, when I have been running my agency, it hasn't always been just me or a team or whatever. But like, you know, at different levels, your agency grows and you have to grow with it. And things are going to suck. Like, I know when you're like a solopreneur or you've got only one team member or things like that, it's actually really chill. Like, it's really, really good. Like, yeah, you'll be busy, but in terms of like the administrative and the overarching operational expenses and on all those overheads, it's actually really, really amazing because you can live a really lush life and earn a relatively good income as a solopreneur and run your own day. But as soon as you start to grow your agency, the complexity comes in. You've got reporting, you've got systems, you've got SOPs, frameworks, team meetings, regular touch points, cadences, the whole shoot and match comes into effect. And I found myself for many, many months telling myself that I hate my marketing agency. But then I jump on a call with a client and I'm having the best time. Or I start writing an ad or I launch some ads and I get some great results and I'm having the best time. But then I keep on telling myself that I hate my agency. So I just went for a walk one day. I was in the south of France. I was smoking a cigar, having a great old time, like truly living Barry, you know what I mean? And I realized, dude, why don't you just say that you actually enjoy your agency when things get rough? You wouldn't believe it. It makes the tough times so much easier. Just managing that dialogue that you're communicating to yourself at any given time and just going through those tough periods. Because there's going to be tough periods for everybody. There's times when you have to over leverage yourself to grow. You know, sometimes you need to find the money before you've got it, which in entrepreneurial terms equals crazy ass credit cards. You know what I mean? Or you're going to have to negotiate with suppliers so you can pay them 60 days later. Like, it's part of the game. And you can't just beat yourself up along the way. You just have to be kind and loving and nurturing with yourself. Because if you're not, there's a lot of entrepreneurs that are under the ground right now that didn't deserve to die. And you need to really look after your mental health. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
And you can't compare yourself.
Yeah.
You can't compare.
You can't.
Like, that's where I've gone wrong in the past.
Yeah.
And social media is terrible for it. I mean, we're on the social media space. Don't get me wrong. It's an incredible tool and it ultimately comes down to the person and how you use it.
Mm-hmm.
But there is that underlying sort of thing with it that you see other people, whether they be across the world in better economies or better markets or different, maybe not better, different conditions where it's not again easier, but maybe have a faster path to success. Mm-hmm. And you're like, why am I not growing as fast as them? I saw them 6 months ago and I'm doing just as much, or I believe I'm doing just as much as them. Why am I not growing as fast?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, 100%. I think that the other thing that gets here, and we were talking about this in Business Builder the other day, it was like, when you're starting out as well, you're getting marketed to from all of these make money courses, business coaches, agencies telling you that like business should be easy, that like, you know, all these things of like why your reality shouldn't be the way it is. Yeah. And like, I think it was partly kind of why we have done this as well, is like just talking about it honestly, because it's not easy. Like, I think like you said, you become the person that can handle that stuff better.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like, you know, going super extreme just to make the point, but like Elon Musk isn't running an easy business, but like his ability to cope with the stresses of losing billions of dollars in a day isn't because there's a bunch of stuff. He's just able to cope with that because of he's become that person. And you scale that down, you know, you just become a person that can handle, you know, are we going to make payroll in 30 days. Like, what do we need to do about that? Like, and some people will have different risk tolerance, and you reach that. And I think that's how you determine whether or not you want to be a business owner. Like, if you can't handle that, and that's totally fine. But I think I think it's cool to see a little bit more honesty out there. And I think there is a little bit more stuff on social media now saying it's not easy. It is fucking hard. But that's fine too. That's kind of the best part, right? Like, if it was easy, everyone would do it.
I believe so. Everyone would do it. And I think one thing we always need to be really cognizant of as well is business model differences too. Yeah. Because I think if you're online, if you are running a marketing agency, if you've got an e-commerce store, if you're running a SaaS company, if you're running a fish and chip shop, like, I don't care what you're running, but you've always got to be really cognizant of the fact that certain business models enable people to scale faster and quicker than you. And that's okay, because they've got different sets of skills and they've got different products and services. And you just have to recognize that, like, what can I do today to make myself and my situation 1% better than it was yesterday? For me today, I wasn't feeling crash hot to go onto this podcast. I just had a coffee. I put on a nice shirt. I went and saw my mother-in-law. I went to the toilet and I came here. And we're going to have a good time. That's 1% better for my business, because I know that if I'm able to help somebody out who listens today, they don't necessarily need to be a customer, but they might recommend this podcast to somebody else, And I think that, like, not only is there business models that make it challenging, it's also that we've been force fed this idea of success equals as many zeros on the bank account, plus Lamborghinis, plus hot girls, or plus plastic surgery, plus this, that, and the third ridiculous over-leveraged house on the water. Like, there's this really cool Jim Rohn quote when he talks about success, and I remember listening to it on an audio tape, how he's like, success is, living life on your terms. Like, if a man chooses to go out into the woods and play with the squirrels, and if that's his definition of success and he does it for life, fantastic. That is success for you. So you need to always, like, remember, like, what is success for you? Is it truly inner-directed, or is it the world and the matrix trying to throw down and tell you this is what your life must be? If you don't measure up to this, you are a failure. So it's always good to check in and see what that inner voice is saying. You know what I'm saying, guys?
Oh, 100%.
Definitely.
For example, like, me and Ben were talking recently about, like, two very different business coaches that we've been, like, not looking at hiring, but, like, they're just networking as well as, like, some other work that we're doing, kind of thing.
Yep.
One, very much so on, like, both of them very, very good at what they do. Mm-hmm. One is definitely more specialized for, like, small businesses. Mm-hmm. And I say small as, like, still up to, like, 7 figures.
Okay.
But, we know that's not necessarily still big. And then the other one is, like, large scale stuff, like 8 figures plus kind of thing. Mm-hmm. Like, if you want to go down the route of, like, creating something super scalable, build a team, and potentially sell the business later on.
Yeah.
The advice from both of those people was very different. Like, one, the small business coach was giving me some feedback about some stuff that me and Ben are doing together. And the advice, I think, more so came from that point of view of how do you do the least amount of work to make, the most amount of money? Create, like, one super easy to deliver service. Why do all this other stuff? Like, why have this bigger plan? And me and Ben, we did have a look at it, and we did sort of go, like, are we wrong? Let's seriously look at it. Is our whole plan wrong? And then we were looking at it, we're going, for what we want to do, it isn't optimizing for, like, that's not what we're optimizing for. Like, we are trying to create something that is much bigger, which requires a level of complexity. It will require more work and stuff like that initially, and there's marrying both of those together. But in that same way, like, not everyone is. Some people are optimizing for super profitable, like maybe only work 10, 20 hours a week, and set up this business that's really nice, like a really good income for their life, and they do as much work as they want. We're not really optimizing for that. Like ours is kind of like working a fucking fair bit for a fair few years to create something that is not easily replicable.
I think it really brings about the conversation of like, again, knowing what you're in it for, knowing if you're in it for just a comfy sort of easy lifestyle, have control over your own time, work 40% of the week, do what you want, travel heaps, step out whenever you want, is like, what is the sweet spot? Like how many clients do you need? How many leads you need coming in so you can maintain the drop-off rate, all that sort of stuff. Like know your sweet spot. And then once you know that, go and look if you can actually just go and get a job for that exact same sweet spot and have the same access to time freedom and money, because there's no point carrying all the risk and all the stress. Like, go and run those figures, go and run those numbers, because like, not saying I would have done this, but heck, if I probably had ran the numbers in the beginning and had a crystal ball to look at all the shit I had to go through.
Yeah.
Like, would I have done the same path? I mean, I always say, wouldn't change things, but some people do need to look at those hard figures. Yeah. Because I think the concept of the entrepreneur is incredible. Go and position yourself inside someone's business. Lay a very clear, coherent plan on how you, hope to grow that business and bring more work, bring more sales, and negotiate a deal where you get compensated for that. They carry the risk, you get the gain, but it's only if you do the hard work. So there's so many interesting concepts there, but yeah.
On the entrepreneur concept, my question to you, and this is something which has always been floated by a lot of people on LinkedIn. Like you always hear it's like, oh, I'm an entrepreneur and this is amazing. Oh, by the way, if my hands get in the way, feel free to
No, you're good. Don't do podcasts for real.
Come on over.
Model me. With the entrepreneur, will they ever actually have the skill set to be successful if they haven't gone through the valley of hell or the valley of death that every entrepreneur needs to go through? Now, if you're a sales and development killer and that's all you know, like sales and marketing sort of killer, and that's all you know, and you've spent time in agencies and you've spent time selling cars and selling furniture and selling life insurance and coffins, like I don't care, right? You are perfectly positioned for that as an entrepreneur because you know something about the business strategy, you know the business development side of things, you know a bit of sales and marketing, right? But my only, obviously, we've got wiser heads than we once had, and it's hard to put a wise head on a young set of shoulders. So for the entrepreneur concept, it does take a considerable amount of experience to get to that place. So I don't know, philosophically speaking, I don't even know why we're going down this path, but this is cool. Is the whole concept of being an entrepreneur flawed in the first place?
I don't think it might be flawed.
Yeah.
I'm really open to all opinions. I'm training myself to be better at this.
Yeah.
I think that you definitely need to go through some valley of death, valley of hell, to a point to you realize, I don't want to go down this path, or I don't want to lose the connection to my passion, or I don't want to grow something more. And that's when you would take the sidestep, or that straight from the get-go. And like you're saying, you can step into that role and that's your thing and that's where you'll flourish. But it's interesting.
I think there's a lot of entrepreneurs that almost need to try out being an entrepreneur to realize that that's probably not the long-term path for them. It's similar to I feel like in your first couple of years of business, you see so many people telling you what the steps are, but you, as a rite of passage, you almost still need to go through it. In your first year of business, a ton of people, if you know other people in business, they'll warn you about you know, bad marketing agencies, for example, or bad business coaches, or courses, or investing into stuff they don't know about, or building team too quick, all these sort of things, they're still going to do it. Because everyone in their own mind goes like,
I'm better than everyone.
I'm better than everyone. It's not going to happen to me because I'm better than everyone. And I've definitely done it.
I've done it. I know about it because I've done it. Like,
yeah. And every time you go like, I knew I shouldn't have. And everyone was saying not to, but like, I kind of needed to do it.
Yeah.
So that call with Anthony I'm thinking of Business Builder recently. Like, so we had a coaching call last week. There was a guy who was talking, one of our clients, who was talking about he's in Melbourne, wants to grow, knows someone in LA who might be able to help like funnel business over here kind of thing. And we were just saying like, why, like if you're going to pay for someone, like why do that in LA? Like why not just do more of that in Melbourne kind of thing?
Yeah.
And it was one of those ones where like there's a few people on the call, Ben and I and one other person that like have all been through that of like thinking international is better. Like let's go out here. It's gonna be better.
Yeah.
Tried it, seen why it doesn't work.
Yeah.
But, me and Ben talked about afterwards. You can see that it's like,
he's gonna go and do it.
He's gonna go and do it, and he almost needs to go through it to go like. So like all we could say is hey, why? You can do it. You can do whatever you want, but this is what I see. Are you like? Is that what you're prepared to do? Yeah. It's like, he's going to do it.
And that's the beauty of Business Builder, though. Like, you can at least have a network. I mean, shit, I wish I had something like that when I was going through.
Yeah.
Like, you had no sounding board, and you go and make these dumb decisions, and like you've only got your internal thoughts to go soundboard off.
I had to pay fucking tens of thousands of dollars to get a sounding board.
Yeah.
Yeah, likewise. Yeah.
But,
yeah, like for like, what's Business Builder worth? Like, is it
150 a month? Yeah.
You're kidding me.
Yeah, it's for the price of the CRM, like for the price of the software, it is. But that's the point of it. That's the point of it. Is like those people earlier on that like don't have $10,000 to invest in. Because how many business? This is the other thing that gets me right, and I'm sure you probably have the same thing with people that
please
have so much potential, but they make one bad investment and sets them back years.
Ooh. I'm just thinking about the coaching clients that I've had over the years.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't seen any decision which has really pushed them back years, but I could definitely say quarters, if not months, or if not quarters, or even like half a year for sure. Especially the smaller businesses that I end up getting in the same room with and coaching them through their process. Like, most of the coaching work that I do with software companies and tech companies and early stage, backed founders, we normally go through a process of going through their market. We go through their customer avatars. We understand your value proposition. We then determine the campaigns and the strategy which is required to acquire those customers. What are the allowable metrics, et cetera, et cetera. What I do often see, though, is that if the entrepreneur is not progressing at the rate at which the business is growing, they will unconsciously sabotage the growth of the business. And that's where the real tragedy lies. You can see people who are literally on a 7-figure run rate from zero that have done it in less than 3 years. Like, it's really incredible. And then all of a sudden, they have a harebrained moment and they think that what they've done is brilliant, but they're still thinking linearly, not exponentially. And exponentially, you know what I mean? They're just thinking, work harder. It's going to be okay. Whatever got me from 10K will get me to 80K if I work 8 times harder with 8 times more hours in a day. Are you freaking nuts? Like, they're just not thinking strategically, as Dan Sullivan would say. They're thinking in terms of 2x or linear growth when they really want to achieve exponential growth. And what limits them is their identity, those standards they set for themselves. It's like what they believe they deserve. And as soon as they start getting into an uncomfortable territory where they start pushing past, we're generating more than 100 inbound inquiries each month, or we're going past a certain revenue level, or my team's feeling unmanageable, all of a sudden they'll create a situation or a circumstance where they don't manage well, the team is a schmozzle, then they have to go about firing the team, but really it's all their fault. Or the revenue's too high and then they go cushy and whatever, and all of a sudden the revenue starts to contract, and you're like, wow. Founders do it all the time. They really do. And it's crazy to see that. And I think like if I had my time again as an entrepreneur, I would just shake myself and be like, just constantly watch the market, figure out what the market truly wants and build products that they love. Do that. The marketing's a lot easier at that point.
It's all product and offer just set you up so much.
Yeah.
Like, I think back to, before I read $100 million offers.
Oh, what a banger of a book.
And I just thought first couple of years of business, I just thought I was like, if I could be a gun marketer, I could sell anything. And I was so determined to just become like really, really good at like, it's organic marketing or whether it was advertising. I just thought like, there's just a way to hack everything. And it sounds silly, but I was 19. And then you sort of grow up and you go like, I just want to sell good shit, and good shit sells itself. Like, obviously, good marketing plan and everything like that you definitely need.
Yep.
But I mean, if you create a really good product, that's pretty much marketing in itself as well. Like, that is the marketing strategy if you want to get there. So
that's very 0 to 1 style Peter Thiel thinking. His view, which is often pretty raw, is that if a product requires marketing to become a unicorn, the product's not good enough. And when you hear that, you think, well, how do I change the way I do marketing inside my marketing agency? Or how do I change the way I deliver my services as a software company? Or how do I do things as a videographer? Like, when you start thinking that the only way to take your business to unicorn, providing that's what you want, because at the end of the day, right, if you want to go out to the woods and feed the squirrels or play jazz guitar in Paris, not speaking of anyone in particular, like, clearly, that's the path you need to take if the $1 billion unicorn is your play. You really need to get deep on that product for sure. It's crazy.
There's so much to it too.
Oh yeah.
There's again, I'm coming back to this because I'm so just interested in it. How intensely do you look at like your process, given your engineer background? Like,
yeah. Oh wow, how much whiskey have you got?
Got a barrel down there from the old podcast.
No, we don't need that. So how intense are we about the process? So in theory, we're very intense, but we understand that humans and the market is flexible, right? So in terms of how we go through it, to often, like, for the clients that love us, they know the process. We go through the process. There's dexterity in the process. It takes time. Like, we have to stick to it. You have to do the desktop market research. Like, you need to, understand the top 5 books in the niche. You need to understand what Reddit and the Whirlpool forums are talking about them. Get onto SEMrush, see what websites are ranking. What are the common appeals? Like, then from that, you need to sit down with that business owner and profile, their customer avatars. You need to go through this. What are their pain points? What keeps them up at night? What are their dreams, their desires, their challenges? What's their income? What's their company's revenue? How many people are on their team? What thoughts pop into that person's mind? Once you've got that and you understand the product that this business then has, you then need to figure out the old messaging piece and realize, oh shit, well, you're offering this, but your customer really wants this. So then what is the linguistic gymnastics we need to perform as a direct response copywriting team to ensure that whatever we communicate here leads to the dream outcome for your customer. Whether it's not like a first order impact, it might be second, third, or fourth order impact copy, which actually translates, the dream outcome for them and gives them a logical means of being able to click and convert to whether it be like an inquiry or a booked call or some form of MQL inquiry. Then, obviously, once you've figured out what the landing page, customer experience or user experience flow is, you then need to determine what advertising you need to run at that page in order to get traffic there in the first place. So again, back to the avatars, the right copywriting frameworks, the right modeling, the right scripts, the right VSLs. There is a process that you must stick to. But the crazy part about the process is that because of the customers that we get, which are mostly online course creators, tech companies, we've got the odd non-for-profit that comes through the door, and we do help out the odd small business here and there. With software companies, someone should have told me this before we decided to niche down. They're all different. Like, there's no boilerplate thing for any software company. So you can't really scale a SaaS marketing agency unless you've got absolute top gun marketers. Luckily we do, but we're still pretty boutique in our size. But in terms of like the rigorousness that you have to apply in order to get the results, look, if you screw up one part of that puzzle, like from, the strategy and the market research all the way through to like the implementation of like the reporting and the conversion stack, whether it's be like Facebook or TikTok or LinkedIn ads or whatever insights tags you have to implement, things fall over and you're to blame. So you need to stick to it as a marketer. And I think that's been our strong point because we've essentially turned customer acquisition into a sweet science, if that makes sense.
Definitely.
I really like the way that you go about things, actually bring in that marketing aspect to it, because there are a lot of media buyers at the moment that they just pay for ads on behalf of someone else, and they just think that they can, some of them are trying to interest hack everything and essentially just want to learn on your dollar, they just want to we will just run a bunch of money to test a bunch of stuff, and whatever works, we will put more money behind. But there's a lot of people that don't have that much money to be putting behind it. And there's a lot of agencies, unlike you, that don't tell clients that in the first place as well. People that don't have expect results in the first month, and that's all they've got budgeted for, and they haven't. And when the marketing agency isn't doing the research for them, it's just burning money in a fucking trash can. You haven't really got data that you can at least go, oh, well, at least we've got this. We can take this and use this later. For a lot of the people, it really is, just money in the bin.
Yeah, no, it is. It's literally money in the bin and then lit on fire, realistically. Luckily, when the money's in the bin, you can at least dumpster dive for it, right? No, it's lit on fire. It's never to be seen again. You know what I mean? You're right, Job. And, it only occurred to me as I've gotten more and more experienced as a marketer that, it's harder to get results for smaller customers. It always is. You've got no fat on the bone when it comes to the lead flow. One lead too little will literally often sink that person's expectations of marketing agencies. The smaller customers have often been sold a marketing package where they're like, oh, we'll do your SEO and your Google and your Facebook for $500 a month out of insert third world country here, and it never delivers. And that's because of the fact that it's a sales-led agency in the first place. It's not a marketing-led agency. And, it's really, really tough for those small business owners because realistically, unless you've got a marketing background or you've got plenty of capital to throw at marketing and advertising agencies, it's so tough to get from $0 to 10K a month. It is so tough for those people. And
100%.
I feel for them. And, that's why we, as an agency, are looking at how can you build a small business offer where there's a fair exchange in terms of the amount of work that's required to get a small business humming, which is just insane. We all know it. It's the hardest niche to master, getting small businesses to work well, whilst being able to deliver massive results for the customer and also be profitable at the same time. And we're toying with it at the moment. More will be revealed eventually. Probably not on this podcast, though.
Yeah. I mean, it's an interesting concept. I think we've talked about similar sort of things because obviously, like in the content creation space, everyone thinks they can do it, whether it's the gear or whether it's the storytelling or the processes behind it all. And I'm sure you're the same. And I think like the best idea we've come up with at the moment is that community-based, done with you. I'll sell you some of the processes. You go and learn it in the back end. I'll help you implement it over a short period of time. And the reason you make it a short period of time is because you don't want to be holding the hand forever. You want to put some sort of deadline on it that they can show that they're committed to doing it in that time frame. And yeah, you can help a lot more people in that sort of community aspect. But again, we're still toying with the idea and a similar sort of thing. Like, how can we help small business implement and get them to a point where they see value in the service, they've gone through it, so they value how hard it is to do, and that they're ready to go, I'm ready to pass this away. Like, I'm glad I got it to this point. I see the value in it. I'm getting leads, but I need to focus on my business now. So, like, we're trialing, or at least trying to come up with an idea.
It's brutal, man. I mean, like that. We've talked about that from the content side, but in terms of business build has been going for like nearly 2.5 years now. That started off as essentially that. How do we get people to $10,000 a month? Because that's kind of the point where now they can do more. Now they've really got a business. They understand what it takes. Now we can do a lot more with it. So we've been trying to do that for a while now, and it's tough, man, because I think that there's a lot of people that do get into business expecting it to be something else. That's one aspect of it. So there's people that just shouldn't be in business. There's some people who want it sooner than it will take, because again they're sort of thinking that who they don't realize the personal development side that's required. So from my point of view, the perfect offer is realistically you kind of have to undercharge for it. Like, the perfect offer is you're teaching them how to live their life better. You're coaching them on that to become better in all areas of life in your personal life, because you can't separate your business and your personal life, particularly at 0 to 10K. They are very much one and the same. You've got to then teach them marketing. You've pretty much got to build their product with them. You've got to teach them sales. You've got to teach them how to start to build some systems and start to learn how they might be able to bring on like at least a virtual assistant to start delegating some stuff. You can't do that in 3 months. That is a 2-year type, like 2 year, and like that's generous. I still think some people take longer, but like that is a real 2-year full life and business transformation. What you have to charge for that, like normally to actually do that, you probably can't. They probably won't pay for it. That's where I've kind of got to. I'm super happy to be proven wrong. I think the reality is someone's got to be willing to invest tens of thousands, over leverage themselves, as you talked about earlier. You've got to be willing to do that, I think, in the first 2 years. That's the reality of it. And ideally, you've got to make the right calls every single time as well.
You can't, I think, looking back on my own experience right now, like I'm very blessed with the company I've built. We've we've doubled, over the last 2 years. We've got a team of 8. We specialize in, SaaS and online, and we've got the odd not-for-profit small business customer as well. But I just think about like my first business ventures, not just the e-commerce business, but I've had like an online publication business which didn't amount to nothing. Didn't even know what SEO was. Bit of an issue. I was a guitar teacher for many years. That was a relatively successful business as well. But what's interesting, Job, is that person needs to be prepared to experience like positive trauma, I would call it, because like the brain doesn't change its grooves unless there has been like an emotionally triggering event for them to change the way they think. And they need to constantly be, breaking through barriers every single day to know what they're getting themselves into. You know what I mean? Like
100%.
Like I used to be a pushover. Like I used to say yes to everything with a client. I was a people pleaser, and I've had to overcome that. I don't want to be a see you next Tuesday by all means, but like you have to learn how to overcome that and maintain customer expectations. Or when a customer just wants a little, they want an inch, and then they take a mile, and then you try to send them an additional invoice, and then they say, what are you talking about? You were just going to sort this out. All those conversations and all those points of conflict and negotiation and sales and marketing. I don't think 2 years is enough for most people, especially after the age of 30, where the plasticity of the brain starts to, and everyone becomes very firm in their ways. So if you're going to get started in business, I would say do it while you can, do it while your parents are still alive if you're blessed enough to be in that sort of position, and do it in your early 20s when you've got nothing to lose. Because, being a broke 45 or 50-year-old after a failed business, it's much harder to rebuild your life than as like a 20-something, because you're really at the start. You've got so much time. You know what I mean? But yeah, 100%. Best of luck with that product. I think there's a way to do it. I really do. Do you want my thoughts? I'm happy to point you in the direction.
Go ahead. I'm curious. This makes for an interesting topic.
You might as well, how do I say it? You might as well test drive the direct response advertising madman's brain. Why not, right? So first things first, like with a product that, okay, first things first, like let's focus on the key transformations that you're giving this person, right? Because at the end of the day, you're essentially offering like a Tony Robbins level of transformation here, right?
Let me just break it first, because that's not what we're doing.
Okay,
Business
cool.
Builder, because that's what I think they need, and I don't. We can't build that.
Yeah,
and we're not going to. Yeah. So, like our version of that is like, well, what can we offer that allows them the room to continue to invest in all the other things? Because in reality, it's kind of like, I've invested $5,000, $10,000 into this thing, into this skill, then I've got to invest $10,000 into this skill. Everything's charging tons of money. So it's like, how do we create something that's so leveraged that it becomes easier for us because we've got multiple people in it? And that's why I was telling you earlier, like it's more of a teaching model than a coaching model. There isn't that level of like, we're on your ass, we're doing the accountability, we're doing all this other stuff.
Yep.
And then that way, time-wise, it's easier for us, but they get to experience, I suppose, trying to provide a space for them to have the positive trauma with a little bit of pain, but not as much pain. It's not like, oh my God, I'm going to lose my house.
Yeah, sure. So first things first, if I was looking at the unit economics of the business, I would develop a low ticket content offer, like really, really cost effective. And the reason why you want to be able to do that is that then you can identify and flag who is almost semi-serious from the very beginning, right? Before you try and sell them like a membership of like say $150 or $300 a month, depending on like the levels of tiers. I would engineer the unit economics so you either lose money or you break even on the very first info product that you develop. So you could essentially develop like a core offer which develops, which offers a very transparent and very desirable, outcome for that customer. Like it might be like how to get your first 10 customers, whatever. You develop like an info product pack. You provide them with templates, landing page scripts, VSLs, you name it, whatever. Maybe a whole bunch of ChatGPT prompts. You might sell this for say like $47 or $97, and you go about doing everything you can to ensure that that self-liquidates to a point of $0. Because if they're willing to spend $100 on an info product or $47 on an info product, if you said that you're going to have like coaching calls and all sorts of exciting stuff for $150, they'd lose their mind. And you would build the whole funnel. So essentially you break even on that info product. So then you acquire customers for free. So then you'll have the cash flow to keep on building out your offering on the back end. But that's where you need to ensure that you understand the next thing. And also, if you're getting people to come in the door for the Business Builder monthly recurring revenue program, you want to be able to upsell them into like one-on-one consults, because of the fact that you still do need this cream to go about reinvesting into your product development so you can keep on building out your system at the back end. Now, here's the interesting thing you've got to consider as well, is that with this monthly recurring revenue membership at $150, do they feel enough pain to make an honest transformation in their lives? The question is, if you're not charging enough at that point, they won't actually change. Like, for instance, like my Zapier bill for my agency can be like $500 a month because I'm sending zaps up the wazoo and bloody getting ClickUp to talk to HubSpot. HubSpot talks to fucking ActiveCampaign. ActiveCampaign does this, that, and the third. It's fucked. That, like, I have to stomach that as part of like my monthly recurring revenue, right? But if it's only $150, even if you're earning say $2,000 or $3,000 as a freelancer, you need to make sure that they're making the most out of that $150. So what I would consider is price testing at $150. How can you increase that? Considering that with Business Builder, it's such an incredible product. Like, it's got probably the world's leading edge CRM and sales portal with the software that you guys have developed on the back end of that. And then they're getting this free sounding board. In fact, I would say that a lot of them are there because of the software that you guys have built and established and really maintained and done an exceptional job of. But the fact is that they're literally only paying $20 or maybe $30 or even $50 a month to hear from you two or from your community to go about fixing and changing themselves. So you could create all the great content you want, but it's kind of like they haven't made that true investment in themselves to actually get that to transform their life. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Because books are transformational in the sense that you might only pay $50, but you have to invest like 30 hours to read the fucking thing.
So it'd be something like a workshop where you might go across the entirety of how you could do it yourself, build your target audience, or build your target client and skill sets to acquire them, and optimization on content around that sort of stuff. But ultimately, at the end of the session, or whether it be a self-paced course or something like that, you either do the work or don't do the work.
Yeah.
Something like that, I suppose.
I think that's what you would need to do. And as long as you understand like the customer that you're going for, is it the 0 to 10K? Is it the 3K to 10K? Is it the 5K to 25K? Like where are they at? Like, what's the psychographics that they have? Because each one's got a slightly different pain point for me, right? I'll give you a really good example, right? So I recently did a podcast on the Facebook ads we're running for our agency. So for every dollar I'm investing in Owen Denny digital ads, we're getting $27 worth of contract value out of that. So I've literally created a machine where Ben gets his American Express and goes, okay, $1,000 equals $27,000 worth of revenue invested. So it's freaking amazing. Like, it's better than any meme coin or whatever the hell people are talking about right now. Got to be fair. It's true, right? But and obviously, like, $27 isn't like in one month. That'll be over the contract value. the cash on cash return is 4 to 1. So every dollar we put in, we get $4 back within the same month. Just bloody epic.
Yeah,
For
that's
most
fair.
business,
That's
that
fantastic results.
Amazing results for Facebook ads, right? So, and that's because of the fact that I know my market, I know how to sell, I know how to nurture customers, you know. I've factored a lot of things in to get to that point where my Facebook ads perform really, really well. But like, where was I going with this? Shit, I've lost it. What were you asking, Ben, just before?
About the workshop and
Workshop.
like sell the education.
Yeah. I think that I hope we can stitch this up post production. Yeah, but like, it's not all perfect, guys. Like, the key thing here is though that like you can only really get to that point if you truly understand your customer and stuff like that. So, if it was me in your shoes, I would really do everything I could to get really good documentation for these founders, whether they be small business owners or software founders or whatever. Recommendation software founders will be a lot of work. Wouldn't be pitching it to them.
No, we wouldn't.
Yeah. Like, honestly, if they're like a whole bunch of fish and chip shop owners that want to grow their business, bloody marvelous, mate. You know?
Yeah.
But like, I would be really interested to see that. Well, I would take an active interest in overseeing what you can provide them, so their like message to market fit works from the very beginning. Because if you can get that message to market fit to work from the very beginning, God, marketing's a hell of a lot easier.
Yeah, like to give you context around like our plan, which I find it funny. Like I get it when some people are like want to hold stuff really tight to their chest.
Yeah,
whereas
like, don't tell anyone yet, because if I don't do it or it doesn't work, at least no one knew.
The reality is that 100 other people, 1,000 other people have this idea, right? But like, so my thing is, if someone will build it. If someone can build this better than I can, and that's just on me that we need to figure out how to do it better. Yeah, we'll see them. We go, fuck, they're doing it a lot better than we do. We need to figure out either how to do it better or refer to them. Work out how to do that.
Yeah.
For us, like the strategy pretty much is similar to that in the way that like right now the goal is not to rush to scaling it. It is like keep selling it through network and through word of mouth through current customers, but we're very hands-on at the moment, and then everything in their journey we're creating a process for to either delegate or automate.
Yep.
And getting very close to like where they are at with everything, so that really when we do want to scale, we can go, cool. We know I think there'll probably just be 2 tiers, but potentially there could be 3 tiers. But it would essentially be like, rather than trying to fit everyone into the 0 to 10K or 0 to 25K or whatever it is, you would have, here's the like 0 to 5K, and maybe like all the free stuff on the front is just trying to help people get their first $1,000, their first customer.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
And then you come in, $150 is, getting to, 5K a month or 3 to 5K a month.
Yeah.
Next tier above that is to 10K. Next tier above that might be more, potentially.
Yep.
We'll see. But at the moment, we're like, instead of the info product or something like that sort of like paid marketing route to sort of scale like that, which I think is a brilliant way to do ads, by the way, which like if anyone's listening and wants to run ads, like if you can set it up like that, it is incredibly powerful, the economics of that.
Yeah.
Ours is more like we've got our video agencies that we don't need the money from Business Builder and everything now. For us, like it makes sense for us to be building our personal brand. So it's kind of like we just go and create a ton of content, and I'm sure there's going to be a ton of other like free resources that we will create and build a brand around in that way. And it's more like come in that way, learn, and just try to build the audience. I suppose the Alex Hormozy route without acquisition.com at the back end. Instead, it's, this sort of model.
Yeah, oh man, full credit to you guys. Like, I tell you what, like having that video agency background, such an edge with this, creator world we're pushing to. It's really fascinating. Like I've tried to lean in. I keep on leaning back out when it comes to being that creator. I used to have like a much bigger Instagram following when people would come and follow me for my direct response advertising advice, and I would do whiteboard sessions and I would explain like propaganda in election campaigns and all the messaging behind it. And it went really, really well for a long period of time. But then, I just got beat down, and it's too much agencying, not enough systems in place at that time. And yeah, I can't wait to watch you guys unfold with the personal brands thing, because I need to start doing something myself. So who knows, I might have to call you up and be like, guys, need help. Desperate.
It's fucking brutal doing it on your own. Like,
It's tough. It's even hard doing it for ourselves. Like,
like organizing a podcast is tough, man. Like,
you're always your own worst critic. So, like, for me personally, I delegate my personal brand out to one of my either business owners or staff members. And it's just like, I want you to treat me like a client. It's great because I can use it as a learning tool for someone that's either just started, and I can be brutally honest, and I can see either are they committed, what's their level of quality control. So it's like a great tool for us that I like.
Yeah. Yep.
But I say that, but it's mainly because I am my own worst critic. And for me to like sit down and edit my own videos or even, do the quality assurance, I don't want to listen back to myself 8 times. I don't want to have to go through all those revisions.
Yeah.
So,
it's totally, because if it's a client, I'm happy to sit down, create the brief, write the filming plan, like do the filming with them, like editing, review all the stuff afterwards. They're like doing all that for myself doesn't feel worth the time. I don't know what it is, but but that's why I've created it. I think it's, you got to create easy ways to create content, but
you do. Yeah.
It is hard doing it on your own, man. I think everyone struggles with that, even if you've got a video agency.
100%. And like, because of the fact that I've been struggling on my own, I've went down the path of, okay, audio only podcast. And it's really fascinating. Like, are you tracking like the number of plays and listens your guys getting?
We are going to launch like next 2 weeks. So we have, this is this is episode 9, I think.
Yeah.
But as we're currently filming this, we're a week or 2 away from the launch.
Okay, wow. Okay, cool. So as soon as you launch and you go live and then you start seeing like your podcaster, like I use my my podcast as a listening tool essentially. So I'll create content on a whole heap of different topics and see what listens, because essentially it's almost like everything that we do, we don't really want to go proactively and push on social media. Hey, we did a podcast on caffeine, or we did a podcast on, digital advertising in 2024. We like to SEO optimize all our titles and all of our content descriptions, so then essentially we can rank for particular topics. And it's fascinating when you start doing like an audio only podcast, where the hell your listeners are coming from. Like, I've got a really strong bunch of people out of like Scandinavia who listen to my podcast in the UK. And it's really interesting. Like, I've acquired customers through my podcast just through like Spotify SEO. It's really interesting. One of our best customers came through one of our podcasts, and the podcast was called My Poodle Did a Split Test on Me, or did an A/B split test on me. And I was having this really tough day at the office, right? And I was in my living room, sitting on the Chesterfield, being like, hating my life, whatever. And my dog, I've got this big black poodle, like she's awesome, her name's Zoe. And, she came up to me and she had this big slobbery dog toy and just like plonked it on my lap. I'm like, oh, just get it out of here, like whatever. Anyway, Zoe realizes that I don't want to play. She goes off into the other room and then picks up like one of those like two-way tug toys. All of a sudden, I'm just like, oh, fuck yeah. Get to play tug of war with the dog. And then all of a sudden, I'm like, shit, my dog just did a split test on me. It just did an offer test. I'm like, oh, that's a podcast in itself. I literally go in there, race into my room, do a podcast into like my $25 Amazon microphone. This is before I spent money and got some road gear, right? Launch the podcast, SEO optimize the titles, all that sort of stuff. Got my assistant to do it. Lo and behold, literally 2 weeks later, I get this message from a Forbes lister who wants a marketing coach. And I listened to this podcast of yours. So I use my LinkedIn premium profile to connect directly with you and send this message straight away because I need you on my team.
That's crazy.
Crazy. Like London-based, now Dubai-based. She's an incredible human being. Shout out Yulia from the team at Wilby. They just had this amazing launch. They're helping perimenopausal and menopausal women, reshape their lives and reinvent themselves through the power of like bioidentical hormone replacement therapy, biohacking, Dutch testing, blood tests. They really get into your genetics and all that sort of stuff. They've literally developed this bleeding edge product through our advice. And they literally went to their first like company exhibit at the Health Optimization Summit in London, and they sold the fuck out. Sold
That's
out
awesome.
all their shit. It was incredible. But yeah, that relationship came from a podcast. So I literally wish you guys all the best with this podcast moving forward because it's going to be sick because you don't know what's going to happen. It's crazy when you build this platform, man.
Oh, no, we're pretty keen. They've definitely got a very long-term view for it. So it'll be very good.
Yeah.
We'll probably have to wrap it up there because I know you've got to go soon.
Yeah. I've probably got at most probably 25 minutes I can spend with you guys. If you want to ask more like angular.
My last question, and I think you can string it out for as long as you like. How important or what makes a good creative? Because obviously, like us creatives are always like, all right, we need to just go and create the most incredible story, or we need to go crazy with it.
Should we refine the question to, because I feel like there's a creative and there's a creative business owner. Like, are you asking like what,
for
the actual creative or like the person?
Creative for the ad.
Oh, okay. I thought you were talking about creative people.
Creative for an ad. Because I know like
creatives
go gangbusters on like, let's break out, the REs.
Visual production.
Or let's break out, crazy gear. Or there's the other side of me that goes, oh, we'll make it like look UGC, like they did it themselves, but we're still making a high level production. Like, what makes a good ad? And is it specific to obviously like industries or
Don't you dare say it depends. That's the rule here. You're not allowed to say it depends.
It depends because everyone wants concrete answers.
Yeah.
Okay.
I want a guarantee.
You want to guarantee. If you don't get this in 30 days, no. I have to send you another set of steak knives. Okay, what makes a great creative? So just give me some context. Are we saying like a Facebook ad creative?
Yeah, let's go with Meta. Let's just go with a Meta ad.
A Meta ad creative. Okay, cool. So with any great creative, let's just start from the very first 3 seconds. You've got to grab their attention in an authentic way. Because you see a lot of creatives on Facebook where they've got like someone, getting kicked in the balls by like a 4-year-old, or like a baseball gets thrown at the camera and then it's just like a bait and switch.
Yep.
Right? So whenever you do these like cheap and nasty like 3-second hooks to just get the person's immediate attention, you're essentially discrediting the value of your brand. Because at the end of the day, right, we come in the world of direct response advertising, which is performance marketing, which is spend money on ads, get the right result, keep on going, right? If you do that at the very start of your brand, very start of your creative, it discredits your brand and it makes you look like a fool, and it actually attracts the wrong type of customer, which doesn't have any real trust coefficient to begin with, right? So just do not do that. So first 3 seconds, it has to be captivating. The first 3 seconds has to really address either, it has to command their attention. And then within the first 10 seconds, you need to address the meaningful reason why they should be taking part or taking an interest in your creative. See, I'm going to come at this from a copywriter's perspective, right? Like, if you don't give them a compelling reason to listen for an additional 5 seconds every 5 seconds, you've lost them. It's game over. You know what I mean? Like, I struggle for brevity here on a podcast. Luckily, it's long form content. But when it comes to writing ads and scripting them, literally, every second that you write a script for, or you develop a storyboard for a creative, is real estate. And you need to use every second of real estate in these ads as efficiently as possible. So the key thing is the first 3 seconds, don't be cheap and nasty, but get their attention right away. In the first 10 seconds, you need to give them a compelling reason to tune in. And then for the second half of the ad, if not, it could be the next 50 seconds. That's when you can then start, digging a little deeper. But again, everything has to come back to like what keeps that customer up late at night. What are their dreams and aspirations? Like, don't go talk about yourself. Just talk about how you can change their life. That's what's really crucial, and that's what makes it excellent creative. But if you're talking about a creative person, on the other hand, or a great direct response marketer, my view is that you have to be genuinely interested in people. Like, really, really curious. Like, why do some people go quiet in awkward situations and others make noise? Like, or why does a person say that in that circumstance? Or why did that person buy an Aston Martin instead of a Ferrari? Like, you've got to ask yourself those questions again and again and again, and, take part in life. Because I think a lot of creatives, if you just put them in a room and they just keep on creating, so to speak, they lose the essence of what makes creative beautiful and magical, and it's that life force underneath. Because, for instance, if we are just here and all we're doing is tapping into YouTube and just watching Hormozy videos again and again and again and again, guess what we're going to be creating?
Just Hormozy
videos, right? But it's life, and it's taking all those different those aspects and the nuances and the emotions and the overarching, and just weaving it all together, so to speak. That's what makes a great creative and great process too.
Really happy with that answer.
I'm pretty happy.
That was a very, very good answer, Dean. I think there's a lot of people struggle to answer that sort of stuff. Everything.
It's not my first rodeo. Don't worry, guys. It's all good.
No, that was a really, really good answer. Because I think it is. I remember when I was hiring, one of my team members to go into like the social media strategist role to look over everything. Get out of we've got editors, we've got videographers who can film as well as we can contract that out. But I feel like the one secret sauce for what we do, and Ben and I have talked about this with both of our businesses, is like you need someone that can just have such a high level of empathy to be able to put themselves into different people's shoes and really see the world from their point of view. Because purely just looking at different levels of entrepreneurs, right? Like the way that someone that's making $100,000 a year, the way that they purchase stuff compared to the way that someone that's making $1 million a year or $10 million a year, so different, right? $100,000 a year, you probably cost matters a lot. Once you start getting to 7-8 figures, it's more about speed. It's cost still matters a bit, but it's there's also the cost of inaction as well. And just where those things weigh on the scale, right? So that's just one level. I'm sure you're looking at this from B2C, B2B, all the different things that people are weighing up as different priorities in terms of where they place value of what's going to make someone buy. And I think there are a lot of creatives that do get really caught up in the gear, in the the perfect edit and everything like that. That if we're looking at what makes someone want to buy,
I think that's what you do really well. I've noticed that about you. You are so good at just stepping back and being like, what is that person thinking? or like, what is that person going through, or why? Yeah, that's what I've noticed about Job in a lot of different aspects.
Yeah.
You have a very good ability just to step back and have a very broad view, but then when you need to, you're just right back in.
Thank you. I try to be. It's a fucking ever-evolving pursuit, as I'm sure you feel as well with copywriting and marketing. You're constantly learning in that space. I don't think you can ever perfect it.
You can't. And that's when you need to learn, as Ben says, you need to learn to step back and realize that actually what's more important here, writing the equivalent of like the Gary Halbert coat of arms letter, like the world's most high-performing piece of content that's ever been written in life. The greatest direct mail campaign of all time, in case you want to check it out. Gary Halbert coat of arms. You'll be shocked to see what it is that worked really, really well, but it's literally the greatest direct mail company that's ever been created in the history of the planet. 1 in 3 people bought it in every English-speaking language.
That's crazy.
Crazy, yeah. Check it out, guys. Gary Halbert coat of arms. Like, you don't need to write every ad to that level, or you don't need to create like the perfect video, but you need to test your ideas, because at the end of the day, right, it's the transformation that you're offering with great creative. You know what I mean? Or the transformation which you're planting into the heart and the mind of the prospect who's watching that video, right? Like, I believe, even with my own journey, that I would be so much further ahead if I just sacrificed quality and chose speed, and you know it. Because, like, that if you just wrote a certain ad to about 85-90% and you got the video out in, say 3 days instead of 3 months, you could have had an additional 3 months worth of new harebrained ideas and tests, because the untapped ideas in your brain live rent-free for a very long time, and you get romantic with those bad boys real quick. So you need to go out and constantly test new creatives, constantly test new ideas and new offers and new things. Like, I wish we all had someone. I'm not sure about you if you've got older brothers. Ben, are you the oldest or the other youngest?
I'm the youngest, yeah.
Youngest. You may have had an older brother, but like, someone should have told me when I was younger, just like, Dean, ask the hottest girl out at the dance, because as a rule of thumb, they don't actually have that many dudes asking her out. Number 2, if you ask her out quickly and you say no, and she says no, she's going to feel really, really good about herself because someone's asked her out. And you're going to feel really proud about yourself because you did the gutsiest thing that no other man would do in the room. And then number 3, the thought of would it have happened will not live in your life rent-free forever. Like, when you start to grapple with that, because at the end of the day with business, if you like literally live with those ideas and those thoughts that, oh shit, I didn't cold call this person, I may not win that like multi-million-dollar contract, or, I didn't do a cold email campaign, or I didn't do this. Like, how different would your life be if you actually just had a go, you got these things done, you closed those books, and you kept on moving forward? And I think that's what the most successful of the entrepreneurs that I know, the ones that I coach, and those who I know who are wildly successful nowadays, some with like million person plus followings across all their channels. Actually, some Geelong boys that I've coached over the time. And yeah, it's a weird and wonderful world. That's all I can say.
How fast you can go from an idea to implementation, or even not even just implementation, but how fast you can go from an idea to trialing and testing. I mean, I know personally there's been moments where I'm still getting better to it to this day, where I tend to just plan and ideate before even just going, why haven't I just tested this yet? Why have I not just...
Can I ask a question on this? Whenever you've got a harebrained idea, give it to your assistant to implement. Because you know how they're doing your personal brand right now? You've got like that harebrained idea and you keep on strategizing. Just give it to somebody in your team. It's like, hey, can you... Look, this is living rent-free in my head. I'm never going to get it perfectly right. Can you do something with it and let's test it? Because if you do that, guess what? You've just taken it out of your head. You've freed up your mind for more compelling shit to come to you. And you'll be able to attract more good shit into your life too at the same time.
And the other side of that too, where, again, I'm trying to get better, is delegating and letting go of things to the point where you get pleasantly surprised of outcomes when you don't tell someone specifically how to do something. Because I know I used to get very caught up in that. I'd be like, you need to do this, and this is these steps I want you to take. Whereas, like, as of late, it's just like, hey, I want this done. Let me know if you have any troubles. Or let me know, like, let me, like, see the presentation of how it comes out.
Yeah,
and I'm pleasantly so surprised with what comes back.
Yeah, on that, I read the most amazing book recently. I can recommend it to both of you, like, buy it and study the living shit out of it. It's called Buy Back Your Time by Dan Martell. Have you heard about it? Have you read it?
Yeah. I haven't read it yet.
I've probably spoken to you. It's like, hurry up and buy it, Job. One of the key things about this, and, like, I've got a reputation in my marketing agency for being quite a good manager. And the reason why is because I tell them that, hey, the high level outcome is yours to manage. If you need any support, I'm here for you. But you don't go about telling them this is exactly what you must do and make yourself dependent. No, make your team members dependent on you and your input. Because as soon as you make yourself dependent, you slow yourself down in your ability to move fast and think creatively, because you get bogged down in the operational style thinking versus, like, the creative, revenue generating, strategic style mind, which is a different set of skills. So always get them to own the outcome, not necessarily give them those specific instructions, because I think what you're doing is pretty good. And it's like, hey, can you do this for me? Tell me if you've got any questions. I think you could take it to the next level and be like, this is the outcome. Tell me what we need to do to get there. Because then they start thinking creatively and laterally about problems that they probably enjoy if you've hired well, that you fucking hate, which is a win-win for everybody. And as Dan Martell would say, 80% good enough, which involves 0% of your involvement, is 100% fucking awesome.
Yeah, it's true.
If you think about that, it's just like, okay, I'm delegating everything moving forward.
I definitely need to read his book, but we've been studying Dan Martell's content lately because we've got 2 clients at the moment that want to have similar ways of thinking, want a similar sort of brand. So we're kind of like, what is working for him that we can, like, re-engineer for your brand? So I'm watching a crap load of Dan Martell content at the moment.
He's cool. Yeah.
And one thing I really like from him, and I've started doing this, is, like, playing dumb and, like, with your team members. So, like,
yeah.
And I tell you what, it made me realize how many things each day they were asking me that, like, I know that they can figure it out on their own. Like, because there would just be for example, like, oh, where's this thing? Oh, like, what should I do with this? That, like, just all these, like, little minute questions. And I would be like, what do you think you should do? Like, now it's like putting it back on there rather than, like, going into, I know where it is in Google. I could find it in, like, 2 minutes, like, and send them the link. But, like, then they come to me every time they need a link. They come to me every time they need, like, this asset that they could figure out how to search for on their own. So, like, I really like a lot of, he's got so many of these little things. I'm sure there's a ton in his book and he's systemized it really well. But, like,
I think he's actually the best at it, at this game. Like, I remember reading The E-Myth by Michael Gerber, who gave you, like, a very high level understanding of, like, the technician, the manager, and the entrepreneur, right? And all the 3 levels. I forgot what they were. It's been a while. And, that was interesting reading the E-Myth, but, it lacked the substance and the ability to execute. And I'm currently reading 10X is Easier Than 2X by Dan Sullivan. Interesting book. Really, really cool. But what's fascinating is that you can see that with Dan Martell's Buy Back Your Time, that 10x is easier than 2x. Not only is it referred to a lot in the book, but it's really like the perfect companion for you to be reading them both together along the way.
Cool.
Because you need that right mindset to not just be thinking linearly, because if you're thinking linearly, you just work yourself to death, which is super easy when you're, pardon me, when you're a video agency, because like, God, how much editing can you do? How many additional shoot days do you need to do if something's not right? Like, how many times can you call back? People want to call, they want to have a chat with you because you're one of the creatives. They want to be cool with the creative people and all that stuff. And they feel like they're part of the scene of Mad Men when they hang out with you. You know what I mean? Like, you have to be, how do I say it? Like, you really have to be switched on when it comes to like those processes and systems. Otherwise, your life will escape you. And, by thinking 10x, you're able to separate yourself from just thinking linearly to just get an extra 2 or 3 clients, but you'll think, how do I get 20 or 30? And then how do I service them effectively so I don't hate my life? It's all good. That's a great thought exercise. You should definitely do it.
Well, I like the book recommendations. We'll thanks very much for coming on, man.
You're so welcome.
I think this is, I reckon, our longest episode, which is not a bad thing because
I've been pushing. I've been pushing it for longer.
Really,
I love the long form, but you do have to keep it bite size. Like 30 to 45 minutes is good.
Our shortest one has been 45 minutes, I think. So we're by no means, I think, heading into short form content.
Absolutely not. No.
I think the way that we all look at it, if it's good content, we can go on forever.
Yeah.
And people will listen.
Like, so refreshing too, like to have a few mindset shifts for me personally. Just like that simple thing before, getting people to think of the outcome rather than just what I tell them to do. It's nice. It's nice to be able to have conversations like this.
Yeah.
And share ideas. And
I think so. And I think that if we went down the path of just talking about ads, copywriting, and all that sort of thing, like, I feel that, yes, we might have been able to deliver amazing things to whoever listened today, because at the end of the day, we're not really sure who our audience is going to be. Like, we've got an idea. Like, you've probably had other creatives on, I'm assuming.
Yeah, we've had one other person on so far. Well, and Eric's always in the episode, so...
Yeah. So you've probably got creatives on. You're probably talking about like all the challenges that you've got as creative business owners, because you all essentially have your own independent agencies, right? Is that correct? So Ben, you've got obviously the Fundamental agency.
So we got Geelong Photo Studio and then like Recreate Australia, and Eric and I do that together.
Recreate Australia. What's Recreate about?
Recreate's very similar. So we help people, basically a content production house that is making either high-end content for once-off projects, event capture, that sort of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But then we also have like a retainer model as well, where we like to call ourselves a personal PT for your social presence with that content.
Yep.
So really focusing on like the content side of things, but Joe is so incredible with the strategy that really comes behind it. So that's where we really collaborate.
Cool.
Which is really cool.
Me and Ben got together like 4 months ago, 5 months ago. Like, it's been a little bit now. And we were just like, dude, we've known each other for years when we both joined that networking group.
Is it?
Yeah. And we were both saying, like, why aren't we catching up more and doing more shit together? Because the reality is, like, particularly with our work, there's a lot of stuff that you can't deliver on your own. Like, I'm sure you collaborate with a lot of other agencies as well, but like, I think in our world, and I would encourage a lot of other creatives, anyone that's listening, like, if you can you'll find people that just have like little niche skill sets that are just way better than yours. Like, I think we're going to collaborate pretty soon on one project where like I'll be doing some more like the monthly short form content stuff, and I'm sure we'll probably still end up collaborating on that. But like, that same client wants some event stuff as well, and like Ben's way better at that. Like, Recreate are way better at the event stuff, and I'll even though I can do some event stuff, and that's not my strength. You know, there's certain things that just make sense to work together on. So, you know, it's kind of why I've been collaborating so much, man.
Dude, it's so exciting to see. You know, I think there's real strength in numbers, and you know, I think that, like, I hope for people listening, especially if they're early in their journey, that realistically, it's good to have other agency friends. Not only because of the fact that you can talk about the same things and enjoy each other's company and stuff like that, but 9 times out of 10, you're rarely in competition with each other. And if you've got a competitive pitch, just have some fun with it. Like, it's not personal if you win the project or if they win the project. Chalk it up if you lose the project to one of your new agency friends. Chalk it up as a learning experience. Like, don't get me wrong, if that other agency friend starts to try and stalk your customers and things like that.
Yeah, that's different.
Like, that's a different story if they start literally, they hack into your system, download your CSV file, your HubSpot, and then just call everyone up. Like, that's a bit wrong. Don't get me wrong. But, you know, like, we're all friends here, and I think it's important to collaborate with the local people that you know. Like, I've got great relationships with the guys, like, Corey from Elk Creative in Geelong, he's a great guy, and Rory from Clever Digital, and there's a couple of SEO players out here which are awesome too. And I think it's important that we do stick together. You know, Geelong's a really exciting place to be. You know, there's a lot of amazing things happening and a lot of amazing customers. You know, we're going through a challenging time at the moment. Like, if you go down to any cafe in the middle of Belmont, you know, things are quieter now. They're not full. People aren't spending the money. So, you know, as business owners, you know, we need to get creative. We need to start thinking about how do we get the people out of their cozy, you know, in gas-heated homes and, you know, out onto the street and spending money. And I think, you know, there's real power in collaboration right now. And I think the world needs some new ideas and some new products, because, like, what we're doing right now, it may not be what the customers truly want.
100%. I don't think there'll be too many businesses around in 20 years in, like, I think there'll be a lot of freelancers that can make some okay money. But I think right now, like in our sort of space, there's a ton of people starting a social media agency, ton of people doing a video agency, all those sort of things. It's easy to start it up. But to maintain it, like, only the best people will still be around in 5-10 years.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like,
like, it's funny because, like, you know, I remember Matt Caldell at Arthur Street Digital. You guys would know Arthur Street, and you know, they're a strong team. They're about 8 or 10 full-time equivalents from what I remember. And I remember Matt when he was literally a 2-person business, you know, the best part of like 4 or 5 years ago. And, you know, he's stuck it out and he's built an incredible agency. He has lots of like government-based clients now, and he's really championing the whole idea of like non-for-profit marketing and government-based work. And, you know, obviously he's got his small business customers and he does stuff with e-com businesses as well. But like, you know, the best of us survive. We really do. Doesn't mean we all don't go through our own rough patches. Like, don't get me wrong, you know, I never really understood what they meant by growing pains until you started to grow your business, you know what I mean? Like, you don't know what that feels like until you can, you know, walk in those shoes, per se. But I think what's really critical here is that, you know, it's a great place to be here in Geelong, being great creatives. And yeah, I think we can just, you know, we're just got to keep on keeping on and having fun with it, man. Like, we definitely need to be hanging out more because I'm getting sick of working from my house. Might need to go get an office or something.
Too lonely, man. you got to get good people around you.
Yeah, it is. And like, I'm blessed because I get to work with my wife. Like, she's a copywriter. And, you know, I've trained her to be like a direct response weapon, which is freaking awesome. And we love hanging out together. We've got our little poodle and she's amazing, whatever. But like, you know, I do miss it. I do miss being able to be out in a co-working space or whatever. So it's now a case, I think, in terms of our next tiers of expansion in our business is we need to engage an Australian-based customer success manager, and then we need to then think of who's going to be the next head of marketing, and then at that point we build out the sales team. But a lot of that takes time, takes energy, takes tremendous resources to do it, and it's all just part of the fun. It's all part of the challenges we like to throw ourselves every day.
Well, I'm excited. I'm excited to watch your journey.
Thanks, man. I know I've been reclusive for many years. I used to be really prominent in the Geelong business space, but it's been probably 5 years since I've really stepped out and got back into it. And I think this is the year to do it. COVID's well long and gone and past, and I think this is the time to start shaking hands and meeting toes to toes and nose to nose, as they say.
It's awesome, man. No, well, similar, and we'll definitely organise another catch up outside of this without microphones. But
100%, man.
For anyone listening, man, where's the best place to be able to find you, be able to see more of you?
Yeah, yep, sure. So if you are a small business owner, a tech company, an online business, or if you seriously need help with turning your dollars into new customers, head to www.owendenny.com. That's our website, and you'll be able to essentially choose your own adventure from there. So we are, again, a direct response advertising agency with a specialty in digital marketing. If you want to follow me on Instagram, I'm recently public again. So Dean Owen Denny, and that's Dean, D-E-A-N, Owen, O-W-E-N, Denny, D-E-N-N-Y. If you want to check out our company page, that's Owen Denny, same as my middle and my last name, ironically. And yeah, I think Instagram's probably the best place to hit me up. You can find me on LinkedIn if you like, but again, head to the website, see if it's a good fit for you, and if it is, you know where to find us.
Fantastic.
Guess we could take it from there.
Well, thank you again for coming on, man.
Oh, guys, it's been a pleasure. Lovely to meet you too, Ben. Obviously, Joe Benaya, he's my boy, but it's been epic.